Hello, everybody. It is your ever loving Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish every Tuesday and Thursday morning on the Agents of Geekdom Network, which you can find on all your favorite streaming platforms. We're on the YouTubes, we're on the Twitch, we're on Twitter and Facebook. All you got to do is search for Agents of Geekdom, and you'll find all of our awesome shows there. You can hit notifications, subscribe, hit the bells, all that kind of thing, and you can be on all the awesome shows that we have coming to you every day. Like we have Unlikely Heroes Studios, we have Foretells Podcast on Saturday mornings, we have Five Star Fridays, we have Chat and Draw, all kinds of awesome stuff. The brand new Tuesday Night Clapback that has indie characters from all around the indie comics wrestling together. It is so cool. We have cool stuff going almost every single day of the week, so you can always tune in. And of course, every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll catch your Uncle Fishy here, having a ball, drawing characters. Usually we make up brand new characters on the spot, but also we spend time working on real, actual, living comic book pages that I do for a living. And if you would like to be a comic book creator at some point, I am happy to answer all the questions I can possibly answer, give you all the tips and tricks that I can, tell you about the programs that I'm using, how I do them, how I think things through. Like Tuesday, we were just talking about how I laid out a page, and we actually sat there and watched as I laid out some pages and how I work at it. And being as I'm a one-stop shop, most people don't do this. But for me, you can hand me a script as my client, and I will give you a fully fleshed out comic book back in return. And I do the lettering and the penciling and the inking and all that stuff. So when I start laying out a page, I usually start with the lettering when I can. When we have the lettering nailed down, I like to do the lettering because I like to be able to pace out the conversation around the page and make sure that everything looks good and that there's good timing and balance across there. And then I'll break up the page into panels and then I'll draw everything. And doing the lettering first helps me move stuff around and make sure that there's not a lot of dead space on the page or that I didn't leave enough room for the conversation, because nothing kills me more, and you see it so often in indie comics, than to get a really cool comic with a really cool image and then somebody's got a balloon over part of their head because the writer has way too much conversation going and the artist didn't leave enough room for that, and neither one of them were willing to budge, or they weren't working together as a team to make it work out right. And that breaks my heart to see, because it's not that hard to do it right. So that's why I like doing it all, because I can control that. Now you have to learn all these different skills, and it's very different thing being a penciler to being an inker to being a colorist, and very different to being a letterer. And it's a craft that I continue to work on actively, try to learn as much as I can. I'm always reading and learning new things and looking for new advice and following letterers and stuff and trying to pick up everything I can, because just like my artistic skills, I'm never going to be done learning. I'm never going to be absolute perfection at it. So I constantly want to be getting better, just like I do with my inking and my coloring. And like I follow Katie, one of my friends. It's one of our longtime followers on the show here. She's always commenting every morning. I was just talking to her before the show. I'm watching her art stream on Wednesday evenings now just to learn more about coloring, because she's a straight up painter and does a lot of digital painting and stuff. I'm following her to learn all the tips and tricks that I can possibly learn that I can apply to my stuff. You never quit learning, but that's all part of the bag. Uh, while we are waiting for a few people to be able to join in with us here and take part, because I don't want to get too far ahead on things, if anybody would like to see their fan art get published in an actual printed comic book, if you want to do fan art of my new character, KAAW the Crowmagnon, the savage flying caveman from beyond the stars, then you can do fan art of it, and I'm going to put a section in the back of the book, KAAW's Cave Wall, and we're going to have pictures and stuff there for people that want to do fan art. And so you could see your stuff get published in there. If it's good enough, we might even do a whole pinup or something of it. But it's open to everybody. It's open to all skill sets. I just got a really amazing piece of fan art last night from one of my dear beloved friends who's 12, maybe. And it came out really cool. He did a really good job, and I cannot wait for it to show up in the book. Got here just in time to hear Fish handing out the facts. Glad you're here, Sarah. Glad you're here. Glad to have you. Knew Sarah was going to be here because Sarah's always here. Sarah's a good friend. I love her show. And you can find Sarah on Unlikely Heroes Studios, also on Agents of Geekdom. They talk about all the awesome stuff that Unlikely Hero Studios is putting out, and then they have awesome guests come on and talk about all kinds of crazy subjects, and then get their subjects ripped off by BuzzFeed. It's really interesting. You should tune in and watch the show. It's always a fun time. I always have fun hanging out there. But anyway, if anybody wants to do fan art and see it get published in KAAW The Crowmagnon, feel free to do some pictures. You can have him saving sexy princesses or beating up monsters or all kinds of different stuff. Let's see. Sometimes Fish is one of the awesome guests. Sometimes I are. And sometimes I will be again. We got something coming up between me and D-Fish because D-Fish, she's pushing for that fastest pen in indie comics title. That's what she's doing. She's out there showing how quick she is. She's about the only person out there that makes me sweat when it comes to her speed. And so we're going to put this to the test, and we're going to have a draw off pretty soon. See who comes out with the title of fastest fish in indie comics. Anyway, so I'm working on the new book, KAAW The Crowmagnon, issue 1. I may even do issue 1 and 2 for the first Kickstarter. This is the color flats for the cover that I'm working on for it. I've been inspired by our good friend Katie and watching her show. I want to try my hand at doing a digital painting. Speak of the devil, and there she comes. Good morning, Katie. As if we haven't already been talking since last night. But this is the color flats. I want to try my hand at doing an actual painting, an actual digital painted cover. I did an actual hand painted covers for Greenzone, but I want to try my hands at a digital painted cover. And I'm kind of going out of my comfort zone, but I figured a good set of color flats for reference would be a big help. So I went in and did, these detailed color flats for this whole thing. I did it underneath my rough sketches, which was an unusual feeling for me and not what I'm used to. I'm used to having nice, crisp ink lines to work off of, and I didn't have that. So I had to, do all the details in the color flats, which was unusual, but now I'm hoping I can use that as a reference and click on that, and then I'll have all this layer masked off for me so I don't have to go in and draw a mask around all that every time. And then I can go in and paint in the details, and we'll see how it goes. Worst case scenario, I have to break down and go back to regular old inks and colors, which ain't the end of the world. Ain't nobody going to cry over that. It still look cool. But anyway, that's what I'm working on for the cover right now. And today we are going to go into inks. Now, since Tuesday, I got the whole first book penciled and lettered and sent off to the editor. I got the list of edits back, and I made all that first round of edits this morning and got them all fixed. And I made a couple other little changes along the way too, added in a few extra little bits here and there to clarify motivations and whatnot. One thing that I have decided to do with KAAW The Crowmagnon is I've decided to do it in shorter chunks. Think more like the Flash Gordon serials that they used to show at the movie theater way back in the day. I'm going to do shorter, action-packed, just adventure-soaked comics and have it be a lot of fun. Throw in some bios and some pinups and a letters column and some other stuff. But that will allow me to be able to get the books out faster, more often, and get them to the customers for a much more affordable price. Instead of having to pay $10 to $20 for a single issue on Kickstarter, I could probably get these out for $5. And that keeps it something that makes it a lot more easy for people to be able to back. I can put out issues a lot more regularly and supplement the rest of my income, because I'm learning as I try to move over to doing all my own stuff now. I'm having to diversify more and not just rely on one thing, because like if Greenzone gets hung up because of hurdles at the publishing end of things, then I get stuck before I can do the next issue. So this way I'll have something else that I can work on at the same time, and I can get out issues of this and get out issues of that, and then take on other projects that I really want to take on and not be forced to be scrambling trying to find stuff so I can afford to pay the bills. And so I'm really looking forward to this. And this story is really exciting. I've really enjoyed it. I've got like, now that I've decided to do this in shorter comics, I've probably got the first 26, 30 comics laid out already, all outlined. So I'm really excited to see where this goes, see if people like it or not. It's a lot of fun. It's action packed. It's definitely more on the PG-13 end of things than I normally do. I don't do not safe for work stuff, not because I have a problem with it, not because I have a problem with nudity or any of that stuff. I just, I like my stuff to be things that my whole family can see. I don't want to have to like hide certain parts of the work that I do from my kids or my grandkids. And I have a lot of younger fans in the Tourette's world as a Tourette's advocate. I have a whole lot of fans that are like, you know, 12 and under. So most of the time I keep all my stuff, all age friendly. This one's got a little bit of disemboweling and stuff in it. So like I'm moving it up to PG-13 just as a warning if but anyway, it's mostly fun for everybody, but it's really geared more towards, a little bit older crowd. But it's going to be really awesome, and we are going to start inking on this. I have got it all lettered, got the edits made, like I said, and I'm going to turn off that color background in the back just because that was slightly throwing me off. And I like to put all my lettering into folders once I get ready to go to inks so that I can just click on a folder and turn everything off and all the lettering goes off at one time. So I don't have to worry about that or missing something, missing lines because the lettering was there. Because it's always good to have good solid artwork behind all that, because you can use this artwork for promotional stuff so easily. And if you can turn off the lettering and it's all colored in and it's all illustrated behind there, it just looks so much better when you want to do like a little motion comic bit for your Kickstarter or something. It comes out so much nicer. So that's the way I do it. Let me turn this one off for just a second. Just so I can show, I've got my little folders made here with my lettering, and you can open it up and all of the layers of the lettering is in there, but I can close it and get it out of the way. And I am got my blue layer here for my pencil lines. I'm going to make a new vector layer above that. I am going to turn that layer black so it's easy for me to find and know, hey, that's my ink layer. And I'm going to come up here, and this is in the little masked off area here for the panels. And while I did my pencils underneath it all, I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to duplicate this pencil layer. I'm going to move it up here into that folder and then turn on the background so that's blocked out white in the background. And then I'm going to make me an ink layer there and turn it black. So now I've got my ink layers all set up. I know where to go. It's easy to find because those layers are black and I don't have to fiddle fart around trying to find them. Okie dokie. Now, I forgot I want to show you something else that I do. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now I've got this ship all laid out and I'm fixing to start inking it, but I want to be able to use some of my tools, like the straight line and the circle and all that stuff. I want to be able to use some of those tools so that I can make some of these mechanical edges look good. Like I like to use tools like that for mechanical edges when I can, like cars and machines and robots, because it makes it look harder, it makes it look more artificial, and then use hand drawn lines for more organic things. And because I tend to do that consistently, then you very quickly learn when you're looking at my work, like, okay, that's mechanical, this is organic. Even if you only have a little bit of the line, when you can see it's a perfect circle, it's a perfect little curve, okay, that's mechanical. Even if there's only two curved lines, that's probably that pipe in the background. And it really helps very quickly to associate what's what. Um, some people will do like all their background stuff in a dead line, which is just one solid stroke of whatever thickness it is, and then they'll use a live line like a brush or something for all of their characters in the foreground, so that the characters pop out from the background. Some people do it in reverse. Like there's all kinds of little tricks people use to help you instantly tell one thing from another and make the characters pop out. But this is one thing I like to do with mechanical things. But when I'm going to be using the tools on this, I want to keep everything right. And my OCD wants everything to be in the correct perspective for this ship, which the ship probably is not drawn in perfect proportions right now, in perfect perspective, because I just hand drew it out real quickly. So we're going to go over here to the ruler. We're going to click on perspective ruler. And I'm going to make one line roughly following that line on this side of the ship. And then I'm going to make another line over here that's going to connect with it way off screen to the left. But I want it to fit with roughly where I want that edge of the ship to be. And now I have one vanishing point way out there in that distance. Now I'm going to make a line roughly following where I want the back of that, the back edge, the back flat edge of the ship to be there. And then I'm going to make another one because the front edge of the ship should be parallel to that. Now, if I go with what I have, the vanishing point would be way over here to the left. And that's not what we want. It needs to be over to the right in the distance. So I clearly didn't draw it perfectly. So I'm going to move this line around until it looks pretty good. Now, one of the things I've learned about doing perspective is a tip that I learned somewhere along the way. I can't even remember now. But if one vanishing point is very close, like if everything, if the ship is coming more at us directly, then the vanishing point for the back of the ship is kind of very close to the left hand side. So on the right hand side, I want the other vanishing point to be very far away. So I'm going to make this almost parallel and then come in just a little bit and drop it there. And I can zoom out. And I don't know if you can see on the screen as well as I can, but when we zoom in, now one vanishing point is just off the page over here to the left, and the other vanishing point is way over here to the right. And that's what we want. Like, unless, let me turn off the Wonder screen for just a second so we can look at this box. Okay, like if we're looking at this box straight onto the camera, all right, then the only vanishing points we have are coming off the back of this straight away back into the horizon, back on the horizon line, and then probably one that's coming down from this and going way down to the bottom. Now, because this one is going to go straight to the horizon line, that's close on the page. This other one, we're going to have way, way down there, which would even be fine if we made it parallel, just straight up and down, which would work fine if something's close enough and we don't need to see it in that kind of angle or perspective. If it's turned more, then we're going to see that and we're going to see this one. Now, if we had this at like a perfect right angle, the box isn't square, so it's a little hard to do. But if we had this, you're looking straight on at the corner of this box, then one of these perspective lines is going to go well out here to one side. The other perspective line is going to go way out to the other, and it would be basically even. But that only works at this one angle, and this one angle is boring. This one angle is not the angle you want to draw stuff at. Like if you're showing somebody robbing a bank, you don't want to see as much of the front of the bank and the doors as you see the side and the dumpsters. This is boring over here. This is do not park in our alley signs. This is not what you want to see in the book. You want to see more of the action that's taking place at the front of the bank. So we're going to turn it so you see more of the bank. But now that you're seeing it, these perspective lines are going to go way off into the distance. These perspective lines are going to come very close and maybe even be on the page. And the more we turn it, the further away this perspective point's going to get. and the closer this one's going to get. So like you have to think about those perspective lines are like, a right angle. And depending on where you're looking at that, one of these perspective points is going to be close and one of them is going to be really far off until you get all the way until you're looking straight at it, straight on. And then one of those perspective points is straight on and one of them is way off in the distance. Probably so far that all of these lines look parallel. That's why we do that. When we do 1 point perspective, all of the lines going this way would be parallel because the vanishing points are so far away we can't see it in this image. But the more you turn that, it changes. But we very rarely want them to be even because even is boring. You want to have that angle showing more of one side or the other. So we just remember that those points move like that as we move the camera around. And that really helps out a lot. That's probably going to make it into a TikTok. Your Uncle Fish is all about helping. Let's see. Okay, let me come back in here. Okay. So anyway, we've got one vanishing point that's way off over here to the right and one that's way off over here to the left. And now I want to go ahead and throw in another vanishing point because I want to have the upright lines in this too. Now, when I sketched this, originally when I sketched this ship, I had it sketched at a different angle. It was much more flat and I had planets and stuff taking up the background. But then, like I talked about last week, I decided to change that and I just kind of rotated the ship and skewed it a little bit. So it's not perfect. It's just a rough estimate to get me where I want to be. So I want this line here to be a straight up and down line. And I don't want it to be just straight up and down because I do want there to be a little bit of perspective in it. So I'm going to have that come in just a little bit. And then I'm going to come over here. Like if the front edge of this ship is now going to be up here, I want to bring that in. And like I said, this vanishing point is going to be very far away, but I want lines that I can count on. So I'm going to go ahead and put the vanishing point in, and you can tell those lines are just off of parallel, just far enough. That vanishing point is a long way away, but that vanishing point is going to go a long way to helping me set this up. And when we zoom out, we zoom way out. We've got one vanishing point here close to the page, one vanishing point way off the page here, and then that lower vanishing point is way down here, lost in hyperspace. But that's going to make for a good looking image. So we're going to zoom back in. Now, the number one thing your Uncle Fishy wants to tell you when you're using the perspective rulers in Clip Studio is, all right, I've just set all three of my perspective lines. The most important thing you can do, and your Uncle Fishy is going to change the thing just so you can see. The most important thing you can do after you've set your perspective lines is come over here to your toolbar and click on another tool. I cannot stress enough. Click another tool. You will absolutely forget to click another tool. And then when you go to make a line, you're going to throw another perspective line in here. And then you're going to have to make another point to connect that. And then when you undo it, none of this is going to work quite right again. And you're going to end up having to undo all your perspective lines and do them over again. Learn from your Uncle Fishy's mistake. I have done this too many times to count and had to redo the perspective lines again. Once you get your 1, 2, 3 point perspective set perfectly just the way you want them, click on another tool. I don't care what it is, erase tool, line tool, pen tool, airbrush, whatever. Click another tool so you don't accidentally set another perspective line. This is a special message brought to you by your Uncle Fish. The more you know. Da 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 da. All right, now that we've clicked off of that so that we're not going to make another accidental perspective line, now I'm going to take my perspective layer. I'm going to click over here on palette color and boom, I'm going to make that green. Why am I going to make that green? Because that's the color I picked. Because we're doing perspective, which goes way out into the horizon, and grass is green. So I made it green because it's one of the easy colors to pick. It's one of the one, two, three, four, five, six preset colors that you can use easily before you have to click into other colors and click something else. And so I picked green because I already use purple for my shadows. I already use yellow for my highlights. I already use red for my special effects and stuff that go over the line art. So I had to use green. And sometimes I will use a particular shade of blue for my pencil lines if there's a whole bunch of pencil lines and I'm starting to get confused. But usually I only have one set, but sometimes there's a lot. So green is the color I use. The color is green. The color of use is green, to be used as green. And the color shall be seen as green, and the color shall be picked as green. And those who looked upon the color shall see it as green. For those of y'all who don't get that, me and my boy were watching Monty Python's Holy Grail. The Holy Grail we were watching, and what we had watched upon was, of course, the Holy Grail. So now that I've got that set as green, I will oftentimes move this way up here next to my ink lines on the side so that I can click the little button and turn it off. If you turn off the visibility on the layer, those lines disappear and you're no longer stuck to those rulers. When it's visible, everything you draw is going to be connected to one of those perspective rulers. Sometimes I'm absolutely going to want to use those perspective lines. Other times I'm going to want to be able to draw things in by hand and make organic shapes and make weird curves and bumps and dents and scratches and things like that. So I want to be able to turn it off quickly. But it's nice to have it, to be able to move it around and have it right next to the layer you're working on, so you don't have to look around for it. You can just, oh, there it is, click, turn it off, click, turn it on. Little Sarah from up north says, I thought about Jim Carrey and Liar Liar. The goddamn head is blue. Absolutely. All right, now, man, I'm getting dry of throat. Dry of throat. I'm doing a lot of talking for a drawing show. What's wrong with y'all? Why ain't y'all watching more drawing? Y'all just sitting here listening to me talk. Bunch of noobs. Changing the layer colors makes so much sense, but I always forget to do it. Oh, I feel you. I have had to make it, like, I have had to let it take root as one of my OCD compulsions. And I encourage that OCD compulsion every time I feel that little itch. I do it so that I reinforce that I have to do it, because it makes my life so much easier to be able to find stuff. And when I don't, I'm kicking myself the whole time. When I go back to an older page and I have to pull out, like say we're revisiting a location that I drew in the very first issue that I illustrated a 5-star, which was like 4 years ago. And I go to that file and I pull it up and I find the full color version, and I'm trying to go through and find out which layer my inks are on. I just have to like turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, because I didn't label anything. Nothing was color coded. And it's such a pain in the butt to try and find that stuff. And then when I find that layer and it's got, oh, there's the bank with 5-star standing in front of it. And I go to turn off 5-star and turn off the mask and I'll have the whole bank. It's not there because I didn't know to do that 4 years ago. And then I kick myself again. And I remind myself that it's worth taking the time to do all these little steps and letting it sink into my brain as one of my little OCD things that I have to do. And I appreciate them in the end. So some things I encourage to let my OCD go nuts on like that. All right. Now back to the work at hand. I'm going to come down to my blue layer. I am going to turn down the transparency on it low to 31% because I don't really, this is more of a rough estimation at this point. I'm going to be doing more of my drawing in ink lines than anything else. Now, I'm using usually when I'm inking, I turn that off for a second so that I'm not stuck to those lines. Most of the time, and in this book in particular, I usually use like a rusty nib brush because I like the old rustic look of it. But that doesn't blend very well with perfectly smooth straight lines like that. That doesn't come out looking right next to each other when the same piece of machinery has these two different kinds of lines on it. That doesn't look right. So what I did was I took some of my tools, like the ellipse tool and the straight line tool, and I made ragged line versions of them. And I went in and took some of the same little stamps that the brushes are using on my more ragged pens, and I put a bunch of them as the brush tip on there, and then I spread out the spacing in them so that now when I draw a line, I get a much more organic pen on paper, on rough paper looking kind of line. And I have an ellipse tool now that has the same thing. Looks like, I set my compass down on a rough piece of paper and drew it with a pen. And then when I come in and, whoops, wrong tool. But now when I come in with my other pen and draw stuff in there, everything blends together much better now. So I made these custom tools to work with what I'm doing. And you could use any brush tip on there. That's the nice thing about being able to customize these brushes. And the only thing you have to do for anybody that's interested in it, I'm going to go ahead. I can't do that full screen. You won't be able to hear me. I found that out the hard way. Okay, we'll go over here to the tools and let's say, okay, we've got the continuous curve tool, which comes in really handy for some things. And actually, I don't think I have a rusty curve, a ragged curve. So, all right, let's take the curve itself. We'll take the curve first. I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate subtool, and I am going to make it ragged curve 01, because inevitably I end up making some mistakes somewhere and have to go back and fix it. And so I end up with a 02 half the time. Okay, we made a copy of that tool. It is down at the very bottom of my list of tools. I'm going to click and drag it up. I'm going to click and drag it up. Drag it up. I like the way you drag it. No diggity. We're going to put it right there. All right. Now it's right between my ragged line and my ragged ellipse. Now I'm clicked on it. I'm going to come down here to the little tool, the little wrench, which takes me into the subtools. And then we're going to come down here to brush tip. And we're going to click on material instead of just a circle. And then we're going to add. And let me see, what was the keyword? So rough. Okay, we're going to add one in, but that's not really enough. So let's see. I'm going to just scroll down here and look. I can't remember what the keyword I put in was. There's a bunch of them with the same keyword, and I don't remember what it is because I didn't make them. So instead, I got to go through all the different stuff that's downloaded in here. Rough wasn't the right one. Okay, wait a second. Now I can click on that. And then, let's see, is it control? Yeah, control will let me click on more than one. And I'm just going to click on all of the rough shaped ones, not blood splatters, but there's a lot in here. You can see all the books that I made for the bookcases, and Cthulhu is hard to spell. Oh, this is the fun part, scrolling through a billion brushes. This is what you paid good money for. Join in on today. I like the way you scroll it. No diggity. Can you get all to the point? Okay. Control, drawing pencil, click on that one for good measure. Yeah, we'll click on that one too. What the heck? Scrolling. Lord, my butt is scrolling. When will he stop scrolling? Oh, hey! Hit him up, move him out, find him in, put him down. Man, I know there's a bunch more. I don't know what they're under. You can see all these different characters I made for crowd scenes, brushes I've made for hair and lightning, and all kinds of specialty things that I've made brushes for, so that I can just like whip out my own explosions that look like my drawing really quickly, and use a lot of the same patterns and textures that I use repeatedly drawing them anyway. So that makes that faster. Just wanted to put some more in here, but man, there's so much to thumb through. All right, well, that might just be all we do. Well, you know what? That'll work too. Those are supposed to be leaves, but that will work too for our intents and purposes. All right, so anyway, I'm going to load those up, and it's loaded all of these to the brush shape. And then I'm going to go to stroke, and I'm going to normal, wide, fixed. And I'm going to spread the stroke out a little bit until, like, I don't want it to be a dotted line of gibberish, but I want it close enough. And now that's not thick enough. Let me make my line thicker so I can see. There we go. Okay, that's maybe closer. Oh, repeat method. I need to do random so I don't end up with the duka pattern. And I'm going to go into brush tip, and I'm going to clip on, flip them up and down randomly, flip them side to side randomly. An angle, I'm going to click on random at 100% strength, which will rotate that brush tip around as well. And between all of that, it will help make it look not so repetitive. And now it's just a matter of finding out how close they need to be to blend in with the other stuff that I've been doing. And I think that's pretty good right there. I think that will blend in really well. So that's like how you can make your own custom line tools and stuff with whatever the brush tip you need is. And you could go look at the other brush that you're using and see what those settings are set like and what brush tip there is, and bring those over and apply them directly. This is just a real quick, down and dirty, easy way to make a rusty looking brush set to go with the rusty brush sets that I already have. Kyron says we need to do blood splatters for sure, because Kyron's all about the blood spatter. So there's always blood splatter around Kyron for some reason. Might as well go with it, he said. Don't know why. Don't know where the neighbor's cats are. And I'm not answering to all their crazy accusations. All right, now we're going to turn back on our perspective layer so that these tools will now work with that. And let me see how thick. Okay, 10 points, pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and make my ragged curve 10 point, and I'm going to make my rusty ellipse 10 points so that they all match. Garrett says he don't know where the neighbors are either, and them nosy cops need to mind their own business. That's what Kyron says. I don't blame him. I'd be put out too if I were Kyron. All right. Now, one thing, most of this is basically going to be like drawing a building on its side. Most of this is not going to be super complicated. screwdriver slash engine down the side of this ship is going to be a little more creative, let's say. So I'm guessing the point of it is probably the, whoa, that is the wrong tool. Wrong tool. Fool. Okay, let's see. The edge of this is going to be about right there. So I'm going to say about right there. Let's move out a little bit more. Oh, that's way too wide. So yeah, that may be what we end up having to do right there. Okay, I'm drawing this line down the center of that. And this is purely for measurement. I'm going to delete this line down the road, but this is the line that I'm going to use to tell me where all of these ellipses are going to start from. And I'm going to make a few crosses across this line randomly where I think the center point for some of these ellipses would be. Because what I want is I want the very center of this space engine screwdriver thing. I want it to be in the ship. Like I want the ship to go into it, and I want this edge to be all wompy jawed going down the edge of it. So I'm trying to figure out where is the center point. Like what is that line going down the center of the screwdriver? That is this line going diagonally across the page. And all the little ones that cross it are just helping me figure out where is the center of that ellipse going to be. So when I start my ellipse tool, I have a little X to start on and draw it out from there in perspective, which will help it. Uh, it it'll help me out a lot in the long run. Trust me on that one. So I'm just making some lines across here to cross it so that I know where those ellipses are going to start. And now I'm going to zoom in closer so I can better see what I'm doing. Because if you don't start the ellipse in the right spot, it's not going to work right. And I'm going to get is, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do because I'm not a fool, nor an idiot, nary a numbskull. I'm going to come in here with my narrow line thickness tool. I'm going to have it set to process that whole line. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to hit every one of them suckers. That's what I'm going to do. And that didn't do a whole lot. So I'm going to up it to 2 on my narrowisms. I'm going to come down and hit all them suckers. And I'm going to thin them lines down so that it's a whole lot smaller target to hit and will help me get a lot closer to where I really want to be. Because before, because it's such a narrow angle on the crosses, it was a little bit harder to hit and a little bit thicker. Now I can really kind of see in there when I've got it in the right spot. And it's going to want to snap to certain perspectives. And we'll try that out. Boom. And then I'm going to come over here to this one. And we're going to, let's see, that one is going to be a little bit smaller. Oh, I should really, that doesn't really help me. All right. Boom. And then, whoops, forgot to click again. And then I'm going to come in just a little bit because I forgot about that other part of that circle before it sinks in there. And get that there. Boom. And we're going to come out a little bit in front of this on that same line, because as long as I follow that line, they will all pretty much be in line with each other. And they'll all be in basically the same perspective. You know what I could do? You know what I could do if I were a smart man? But I'm not a smart man, Jenny. I'm going to draw some lines off the edge of this. So now I know what I'm aiming for on the other side with my rusty ellipse. I'm not a smart man, but I know how to use my tools, Jenny. I'm not a smart man, but I know you got the AIDS, Jenny. Mama always said life is like a box of chocolates. You're going to get the AIDS if you don't wrap your weasel. Mama had a lot of stories about the AIDS. Do, do, do. All right. Let's see. Bum, 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 bum. No, I want it smaller here. And I'm going to put one a little bit further back. Whoops, no, I'm not. Click again. Do it this time. Skadoosh. Whoops. I thought I clicked it again, but it didn't think I clicked it again. Because that's the way it is. Sometimes Clip Studio is a bitter mistress. And I'm going to come back down on this line a little bit further out. And I'm going to run into something on my desk so that I can't make the line that I really want. And skadoosh. I'm listening whilst working on a commission and getting annoyed that the 3.0 brush just isn't fine enough for the tiny hair details I'm painting. I feel you. That is very frustrating. Which is one of the nice things about digital. You can always shrink it or make it different, but that's a lot harder to do when you're doing real paintings on real stuff in the real world. All right, and then I'm going to come back a little bit and we're going to get that next size up from there. And I'm going to try something. I'm going to try. No, it's not. I was wondering if I could do the ellipse and get it at the right angle to be that curve. But it's just not going to do it right because it's trying to make it stick to all the perspective lines that I've already set up and installed, and that's proving to be a hard row to hoe to hit all of those at the same time. So I'm going to have to draw that curve in. But what I did is I set up this big one in the center to be the top edge of where I want that curve. So hopefully I can bring a lip curved line up and hit that where I want it to be. All right. And now, because that is where I want this straight section to be, actually, I could go ahead and use a thicker line for that because I know this line is going to stay. Well, I say that. And then we're going to come here, take that out to there. And then we're going to come down a little bit and we're going to make the narrower diameter that's going to close down to. And then this is the stuff that I honestly get lost in for hours. I really dig the math of it all. And the thing I like about math is that it works frontwards and backwards usually. And, at least on the simple everyday stuff that most of us do, math works forwards and backwards and it's not that complicated. Like, you know, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 minus 2 is 2. It works both ways. It's not this way one time and then something completely different the next time, because why not make it confusing, for children that are trying to learn this stuff while fighting with their ADHD and whatnot. Um, Apparently, this little line down here didn't get hit with the shrink up your line tool. So we'll come a little bit in front of that. And we're going to stop that thing. What are you? Get out of my boxes, dog. Go be a wiener somewhere else. Sarah says I was trying to finish preparing more blanks for more first backer awards, but hell if I can find my pickle stain. Okay. I didn't know you had to stain your pickles, but okay. I think Katie took it. Katie probably did. Katie's a sinister mistress out there. Depends on how good you are at maths. Absolutely. But for me, that's the thing I liked about math, because it worked frontwards and backwards. And that's kind of the thing I like about um, perspective as well. Because, like, if you do it right and you do the right steps along the way, everything just works itself out and everything lines up, and you don't have to be super crazy complicated about it. And I like that. That is very comfortable for my brain. Um, Now I'm going to come down with a thinner line because, and that's not really thin enough. I go down to a 2-point line. Some of these, I can't remember where I set the cross at because some of them I just freehanded. So I'm going to have to try and figure out the midpoint of some of these. But the other ones, like that are on the little crosses that I made, they're good. But when I set out all these little midpoints, let's see, okay, that one goes there. Okay, if that's that one, I come here, that's going to be a little bit further in, so that should maybe be about right there. I'm trying to find where all these lines are going to be cut off now, and the, I didn't put them all on the centers that I should have put them on. So some of that is, but I know I used some of these points where the lines cross as midpoints too. So anyway, hopefully you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. I'm trying to draw out all these lines so that I know where they land on the ship, on the deck of the ship that is relatively flat here, and know where to cut all this off at. So that, and that one was the back line. Man, there's no telling where I did that. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit further down because it's a little bit wider. So that's probably that. And then that would be that. So if that is that one, and that is that one, and let's see, that could be that one. Let's see how that matches up. See, it doesn't match up there. And since I have a midpoint for that line, I can bring it back and tells me that that one should be there. I find putting on your show while I'm working on my own stuff very helpful for productivity, unless I can't find the stain. That's what she said. Or he. I used to be a kept man. I used to be a house husband. I tell you, before my Tourette's got bad, I made a hell of a house husband. I'm here to tell you, man, that house was spotless. Cooking 3 hot meals a day. I was killing it, Jerry. All right, now I'm gonna turn off the perspective tool because now I need to come in and start drawing in some of these other curved lines with my raggedy curve that I just made. And like I need a line to go from here to here, and I want that to bow out a little bit towards the front. And now I'm going to come from this place where I know the line is intersecting the deck to this place where I know the line is intersecting the deck. And then I'm going to pull it out a little bit towards the front like I did the other one. And now that should be the curve I need. Whoops. All right, let me. You know what? Something I found very helpful in, the vector erase line works really well if the lines cross perfectly, but when you're trying to get them to like the edge of a circle to match up with the edge of a curve so that it looks nice on this outside edge, you don't often get enough of a cross over in the line that it does it right. So what I found really helpful in this tool is I'll go to my line adjustment width adjustment over here, and then I'll go up to control point. And then down here under control point in the settings, I will go to split line. And now I will select this line. I will come right here and click, and it will make a separation right there in the line. And now I can come over here, and I just have to move around a little bit till it registers the right line that I want, not the wrong one. It just takes a little wiggling and click. And now I can click this whole piece and delete it. And now I have just the part that I want. And that, boys and girls, is kind of nice to be able to have. It's kind of a nice little trick. Yeah. Now I'm going to come from this point with my little raggedy curve tool to this point, and I'm going to bring that in just for a little bit of visual interest. And since this edge is probably going to continue on around, I'm going to try and replicate like an inner curve edge to this there for right now. And I'm just going to leave that for right now until I decide further down the road what I want to do. But I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to click there. And then I'm going to, I know it's not going to go any further than that. And then I can click my selection tool and click on that part of the line, and boom, it's gone. And that kind of precision has come in real handy when the eraser tool doesn't always work. The eraser tool works a lot. Like when they so obviously cross over, like that circle crosses over with that one, it's real easy. But even then, I have to come erase all these little bits. And sometimes you get left with little artifacts. And so the breaking the line, the split line tool can come in real handy sometimes. Now I'm going to go back to adjust line width. I'm going to go to thicken. And I already drew this line in, just trying to figure out where it was. So I'm just going to thicken it. And then I'm going to undo a little bit because I went a little hard in paint, as the sports-minded jocks would say, the Chirons of the world. And then I'm going to make a connecting line from here to here. We'll bring that out a little bit. And then I'm going to go back over here to control point and split line. And I'm going to split that curve. Come on, curve. Work with me. There we go. And take out that little extra piece. There we go. And then I'm going to go back to split line and skadoosh. And skadoosh. And now I can grab that whole big chunk and get rid of it. And you see how now I'm getting the contour of the side of this shape along the side of the ship. And that's why mapping all those things out first comes in handy. And the circles that I freehanded are kind of screwing me, because when I freehanded them, now I don't know exactly where the center of that circle was to come out to find the midpoint of that line. And even just being able to come out in perspective and find the midpoint of the line helps me, even if the height changed on the deck as we go down the ship, which would be okay. I could still judge, okay, this is the midpoint. So if the deck dropped this much, it's probably showing this much of that curve now. But, you know, you got to pay attention to those kind of things. Like, you know what? Man, the way I had this ship laid out, you're not going to really see it. But let's just say, for instance, all right, just because, if you will, just because we want to be crazy, wild, cuckoo kids. Come on now. You feeling crazy with me? All right, just to show what we could do, let's say at this point in the screwdriver engine cell, the deck drops yay much, okay? And we'll just, for pretend, we'll say that there's a big block on it here, you know, that is higher than everything else. And then all of a sudden, the deck drops down like that. And I'm just roughing it in for right now because it's not really. But okay, so the deck has dropped down. Now, I could draw a line through here that will show me where this new line on the side of this deck will be. But I can also, you know, continue this line out so I know, okay, this is where the center of everything was. And now I can drop down from here. Well, let me zoom in a little bit. So this curve is coming down like this. I'm going to come along the outside edge of it and come down and say, okay, that's where it should have been crossing now. That's where it should have been crossing, but because it's a curve, it's come in a little bit. So, all right, we want to get all this stuff right, don't we? We want this to all be, we want to come correct, as the Chirons of the world would say. So we come straight down until we cross this line. And where we cross this line, we know is the new height of where this is going to be. So we come across, it just happens to match up with this other line that's supposed to be over here, but that's unimportant right now. Come down, we come over, we find this is the new edge where it comes in because it curves. So this is going to be the new bottom edge. We need to keep this line because we're going to use it for measurements, but that line is going to be the new bottom edge of the curve. And let's see, we're going to go back to adjust the line width and thicken. And we're going to darken that line up a little bit so that we know that's the new edge. And then we're going to come in with our curve, and we're going to come from, oh, no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to turn that off, and we're going to turn that down a little bit. And we're going to come from here to here. And then we're just going to mimic that curve. And then now we could be fine to delete that. And we could even delete these if we wanted to. And now we have that new curve and it drops down. And now we would be using this line to get our level and go across, and then we would have to plot it down from each one. I mean, we could do it that way. There wouldn't be anything wrong with doing it that way. But that's not what we're doing right now. I'm thinking, honestly, I may, come to think of it, even though I can see looking at this now, I can see I've already drawn in all of this stuff here that should be covered by the bridge. I can move the bridge around and change it as I feel free because, it's my ship. I can do what I want. It's my spaceship and I'll do what I want to. But now I'm kind of thinking I may have the bridge come down into that side of that circle and then come around the edges and make that a complicated set of curves just to be a pain in the butt to myself. Just because I like to keep things difficult. But anyway, all right, we're back on to doing one level for now. And now I'm going to come from here to here, this point to this point, where this flat deck crosses over. And I'm going to put a bit of an outward bow in it. And I'm going to do the same thing from this point to over here. I'm going to put an obvious bit of an outward bow to it there, which hopefully will give me enough crossed lines to be able to just delete that and not have to fight with it. To be safe, I'm going to go back down over here and go to control point and split line, and I'm going to split this one. And split that one. And split it there. And the rest of that line doesn't matter because the rest of that line's gone. And then delete them. And delete them. All right. And now I'm going to go back to my curve line because it can be fun to give these things some extra zhuzh in the shape. Like, they don't all have to be straight lines. There's no reason for it to be boring, my dear. That's what they say on the street. And then come from the top edge of that to the top edge of that and give that a little skadooshie. A little skadooshie po. And then we're going to delete that because that's starting to get in my way. Delete that because we got the other lines if we need to go back to them. And then we're going to go back to our little split the line tool. Because you're mine, I split the line. I hear that space freighter coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the stars shine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in the slaver's prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that starship keeps a rolling on down to Alpha Centauri. I hear there's rich folks eating from a fancy dining car. They're probably eating fried scrubs, and I don't know what else to do. I've kind of got sidetracked here, and I forgot what I was doing. But that Chiron keeps commenting, and that's what tortures me. No, I'm going to leave that for now. Little Sarah says, that's the third song you made me sing to myself in the past hour. You don't know what torture it is for me to be working without my music on that I can sing along to. It pains my brain to not be able to sing along to my music. And it is a wide variety of stuff, from like way old school country to punk to noise to Motown to all kinds of different stuff. Um, but it keeps my brain moving, keeps my brain agile, and it eats up half of my processing power so I don't drive myself nuts. At least they're good songs. I do have some taste. It's wild, and my wife may disagree, but I believe I have some taste. Do 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 you do 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 do. They're probably eating spatulas and smoking big old cars. Sarah says she did Folsom Prison Blues in a music competition like 10 years ago. Played the guitar for myself and everything. Don't know if I could do that now. I don't know if I could have done that then. I never did get good enough on guitar. I tried for a while. I had one and I really enjoyed it, but I don't know if it's just joint issues or if I'm just old or if it's because I'm so big and my hands are so large. I could not for the life of me make the bar chords. Like my hand was just my hand and my fingers were too long to do it right, and I could never figure it out comfortably, and the kid trying to teach me couldn't show me anything different to try and get there than what he was already showing me that wasn't working. And so eventually I just gave up because as much as everybody wants to say, "Oh, well, all you need to play music at the church is, G, C, and D." No, every single song has like a B or something else in it that you got to have a bar chord for, and I couldn't do it. I just could not get my hands to want to do it right, and it was very frustrating to me. So I went back to just playing the drums because I knew how to do that, and it might hurt my wrist, but it didn't hurt my hand. All right, I'm just gonna pull that down and just fudge that and make that work. Sarah says, F them bar chords. I hate them. Kids and bar chords, she says. F them both. I said, that's a pretty angry stance to take. I said, I don't care. F them chords and F them kids. The opposite side of the coin. I'm telling you, my hands are too small. I got okay at it, but I needed like double the finger strength for them. So I finally just got a capo to cheat. Yeah. I did see at one point I saw a method for the madness of doesn't work right without the all the different tools turned on. I saw a method at one point for tuning your guitar so you could just run a slide up and down the guitar and it would be, each key as you went down instead of having to make all the crazy finger combinations, and then you could play all the songs just by sliding a slide up and down the guitar. And it was a way that they teach people to like quickly be able to play guitar in like a restaurant or something as you're walking around. You don't have to be great at it, you just have to be able to get close enough. And it was fine enough for the people coming in for that. And it's been stuck in my head ever since that I want to I've always wanted to try tuning my guitar like that and see if I liked it, but I never did. I could have. I shoulda and I woulda, but I didn't. I hear my Alexa in the other room barking orders at me because I have to go pick up my daughter at noon. Noon my time. Probably 1 o'clock y'all's time. So I can only go for a bit longer. I don't know where I was taking that line to. That line was supposed to come over here. Crazy old fishy. You're drawing crazy lines like a madman, like a mad Kyron out here. You know what they say? Drawing lines crazier than a Kyron in heat. That's what they say. Oh, my grandma used to say anyway, but she was a crazy old bird. I didn't even know who she was talking about till recently. But now that I know him, I get it. Kyron telling the whole world about seeing my wiener on the show last week. My wiener's over there snoring up a storm now. Kyron's probably going to tell the world. Calling it obsession with my wiener. That's what they say. They say Kyron's always had a problem. It's just now coming to light. The age of the internet. They say monsters like Kyron can't hide. I'm so sorry, Kyron. I just playing. Sometimes I play too rough. Much like Kyron. Kyron's known for anything. It's playing too rough. That man will hurt your feelings. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's so much easier. The real guitarist will say it's cheating, but like I don't even remember what it's called. I used to have a note in my phone, but that was like 10 phones ago. Um, but yeah, you can do it and then just slide it up and down and it'll work. It may not sound as deep and rich, perhaps, but it'll absolutely get the job done. And, for so much music, like, so many garage rock bands and stuff, man, folks you playing for wouldn't ever know the difference. I've played in so many like church bands and stuff. Man, I could have played that all day long on stage and nobody would have ever realized. Sarah says the real guitarists need to chill the F out. That's what Sarah says. Sarah says she's taking on guitarists as a whole. She says the whole guitar community can bite her on the buttocks. Now, that's what Sarah said. That wasn't me. I wouldn't speak that way about our lovely brothers and sisters in the guitar community. Sarah says, F them guitarists. Guitars, kids, and whatever the hell else I said last time. Some of us play the guitar because we like to make music, not because we want to be uppity gatekeeping snobs. Oh, Sarah, now you got into guitar for the wrong reasons. Oh, my mercy. All you got to do is go sit at the guitar store for a minute, and some man will surely tell you about how you got in it for the wrong reasons. It's all about the snobbery, Sarah. That's why we do it, to get girls and to be a snob. If that's not what you were after, you was in the wrong thing. The snobbery goes hand in hand with the bar chords. I'm such an idiot. I didn't say I want to be a good guitarist. I just wanted to play. She just wanted to be a little guitar hero in real life. That's all. I tell you, men are the worst. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. I tell you. Men tell me what's up at the guitar stores for having girl parts while in a guitar store. Yep. No, really, honestly, like, if you wanted to be taken seriously, you shouldn't have chose to be a girl. That's all there is to it. I decided to be a man, and it's been nothing but sugar cookies and lollipops. Oh my god, sugar cookies and lollipops. I gotta remember that, but I won't because I have the brain damage. I know it may not seem like it as I sit here in a room by myself, giggling and laughing at my own jokes, but your Uncle Fishy is one of the many lucky Americans to have a little of the brain damage from a heat stroke. I didn't think heat strokes were that serious. I didn't think heat stroke was anything to be worried about. So what? Everything turns purple and you pass out for a minute. You just get back up, brush yourself off, finish your icing, go home. That's what Fishy said. Turns out it can have long term consequences that will really make you regret your life choices. But I was unaware. I was unaware I should have been taking it so seriously. And I should have been. Because there's nothing worse than having to spend your life faking your way through conversations that you're supposed to know what's going on, but you easily and readily lose entire months of your life and don't remember any of it because a lot of things just don't stick because the tape upstairs got fried in the heat. So it's pressed record, but that tape ain't recording. And that sucks. And they're like, and people will get so mad. They will get so mad and start yelling at you like, no, you remember. And I'm like, buddy, I hate to break it to you, but I don't. Okay. I'm going to go back and undo that because I realize I'm getting down to the point where the edge of the ship is going to shrink and drop off, and I may end up needing all of that cylinder pretty soon. So, all right. All of that talking, and y'all heard a bunch of craziness. You heard a little bit about brain damage, and we talked about guitars and how men and Kyron individually suck. And let's see, we talked about some stuff, and we drew half of a screwdriver on the side of an interstellar spaceship because it's going to be a big honking engine. And by God, that turned out pretty cool. I may have to time lapse the rest of this page just so I can post it and show y'all how it comes out because this was fun. And I actually really enjoy getting to talk about this part because this technical kind of stuff is the stuff that I learned how to do that I never thought I would use because I draw badass superheroes shooting guns and killing people. I'm too cool for technical drawing. And I use it all the freaking time. And it has come in really handy. And some of the highest paying jobs I've ever done have been like, when you drive by a construction site and they have that big sign out in front of it saying, brand new bank coming by Loser Brothers Construction Company. And there's a drawing of the bank there that's all pretty and watercolored and whatnot, and little happy people walking their dog into the bank like you can walk your dog into the bank and nobody gets mad. And all the little bushes and it's all in, pretty in perspective. Illustrating those off of house plans is literally some of the best paying jobs I've ever done. They pay a lot of money and I can knock them out in a day or two, and they're freaking awesome. They pay great. And I loved them. It's technical, but I learned how to do that stuff against my will. So, it came in handy. I'm glad now I learned how to do it. I'm glad I paid a little bit of attention in class and didn't just completely blow it off like I wanted to. Somebody kept coming into class high and set one of the goat ropers on fire in the middle of the class. But I don't know who that was. It's probably Kyron. He's a man. That's why I'm a fish. Life's a lot easier. Anyway, I got to get off of here because I got to go to town and pick up my daughter. And if I don't hurry up, I'm going to be late. And she's going to think I forgot her. And I didn't forget her. I was just showing people the important tools about how to draw screwdriver spaceship engines in funny books. There's nothing more vital than that. This is an essential job. I'm telling y'all. Sarah says, I don't remember what I was doing an hour ago. Is that something regular people do? Oh, look, good. Oh, let's see. We did that one. Yep, that's where I went wrong right from the very beginning. Being a girl. I'm telling you, see, you should have known better. You should have known better. When that line was shorter, you should have known better. My brain does that, and I wonder if it's because I fell off a horse onto my head when I was younger. Could be. But yeah, all right. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody on the TikToks that followed along. I've started to have people that just watch the whole freaking show on there on the live stream and listen to me ramble and draw. I have to keep peeking around my camera so I can see the stuff that I'm doing over here. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I will be back Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Central Time, on the Agents of Geekdom Network, on all of your fine channels, your YouTubes, your Twitches, your Facebooks, and your Twitters and whatnot. And you can follow us there, like and subscribe, hit for notifications, because we got awesome stuff on every day of the week that you can tune in for. And I'm on here twice a week. That should be enough. Anyway, have a wonderful night, guys. Love you. See you Tuesday. Peace out.